Hello again, welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is BGFH, and I'm back for kind of a end of the year type video. Figured I'd do something a little bit different again. Um, Everyone around this time of year is doing their, top 10 games of the year or that kind of thing, and I'm not really going to follow that trend. I will talk about, this is kind of like a year recap video of just some of the things that I observed and liked and whatever, gaming, assistive technology, regular technology, whatever. Just covering some of that kind of stuff and looking ahead into next year. So while we're doing that, I was trying to think of something kind of mindless that I can just putz around with in the background while we do our spiel here. And I thought that last year we covered a game on the channel. Jawbreaker and I did a little co-op playthrough, and then I did a little low vision spotlight right before that. A little crazy game called Viscera Cleanup Detail, Santa's Rampage. And just to really quickly, for those who are new to the channel, this is kind of like you have the main Viscera Cleanup Detail game, which came out of nowhere and just sounded so absurdly bizarre that I had to look into it. But then what ended up happening is they did a Shadow Warrior offshoot when the Shadow Warrior remake came out last year. And then out of nowhere, they also did a Viscera Cleanup Detail Santa's Rampage version, so kind of a holiday themed. So the goal or the aim of this type of game is, all these games, action games or first-person shooters or whatever, you have these people that are, you're shooting aliens or fighting your bad guys or, blowing up stuff in the environment. What happens after the battle? Some poor bastard's got to come clean it up. And that's basically what Viscera Cleanup Detail is. It is the janitorial simulator, but crazier because you're not just mopping the floor with dust and crumbs and whatever. You've got jibs and blood and whatever else. So, happy holidays, everybody. Yeah. So, we'll kind of pop into here as we go. Before I talk about going back into 2014, like I said right away in this video, I thankfully have had a lot of new subscribers. I believe we're just under 200. I thought it would be kind of cool if we hit 200 subscribers by the end of the year. We might not do that, but hey, when I first started this, and I really had no idea what I'm doing, and I don't know a heck of a lot more what I'm doing right now, although I feel I've gotten a little bit better at it. 197 subscribers and quite a few views on a few things. I've got a few videos that have had a few thousand views, so that's pretty cool. So I must be, doing something halfway decently. And yeah, so thanks for subscribing, thanks for reviewing the videos and all that kind of stuff. Try to keep things going next year. I'm still having fun with the channel, so I don't foresee me quitting anytime soon. So that being said, here is this first-person Viscera Cleanup Detail. Like I said, I'm a janitor. I got my funky mop going on, and we are going to be exploring Santa's workshop. We've got the workshop here, the fireplace where we're going to dispose of stuff, and all kinds of shenanigans after Santa got a little heavy on the eggnog and went completely crazy. So, this year has been a really weird year, especially in gaming, I think, because, most years I can point out, it may be hard to pick a game of the year. I may not have a clear winner at the top of my head, but I have an idea. Last year I really liked Rogue Legacy. I really liked The Last of Us. Those two just stood out, head and shoulders above a lot of the other games from what I can remember of last year. 2014 was a little meh this year. There wasn't really this one game that just said, oh my god, this is like just the best thing ever. Really didn't stand out above anything else. That being said, there were definitely some good games. There were definitely some disturbing trends, as we'll get into here shortly. But nothing really stood out to me as being just, yes, this is my definite game of the year. So instead, what I thought I would do is I would just kind of go through some of the games that I think are memorable, some of the things that I think that I would recommend you guys check out, a lot, if not most of which, I've covered on the channel in some fashion or another, and if I haven't, I plan to cover on the channel in the future. But another reason that I really can't definitively choose a game of the year is I don't have a lot of the hardware. So I don't have the next generation or now current generation systems. I don't have the Xbox One. I don't have the PS4. I did pick up a Wii U this year, and I gotta say I've had quite a bit of fun with that, and I will talk about that also in a little bit. But a lot of the games that have come out for the next generation systems I haven't played. Some of them, yes, have come to the PC, but also my video card and my computer are getting to the point it's still a really good machine overall, especially for last gen games and indie games. Works great for that. But I'm kind of getting to the point right now where I'm starting to actually really have to pay attention to minimum system requirements. You know, it was really nice for a couple of years there when it's like, oh, a new game comes out, that looks interesting, boom, I can buy it. Now I really have to look, because there's a few games, I'd like to try Dead Rising 3 that came out last year. I'd like to try Rise Son of Rome, the Metal Gear Solid 5 pre-thingy that I forget the name of. Couple other ones I can't think of right now, but there are a few that have come out for the PC that I just haven't played either, because either I don't think my system will run it, or if my system will run it, as I told you guys in my Fear video, when I was talking in the Fear multiplayer video, I don't really feel like frying another video card or frying another computer again. I like my rig. So, 2015 I definitely will, at some point, probably after Windows 10 comes out sometime in spring, I will probably be looking at upgrading, building a new rig. I've already kind of done some preliminary pricing, and I've already been really tempted. I've seen a couple pretty good deals that I can get, but like I said, I'm going to wait till Windows 10. That way I can get full compatibility for the next DirectX and whatever funny other stuff. Sometimes it's like, oh, in order to play this game, you have to have Windows Vista or Windows 7 or Windows 10 or whatever it happens to be. So I'm going to try my best to hold off. And besides, the longer I hold off, some of the parts will get cheaper. I might be able to get a bigger solid-state hard drive for cheaper. That kind of thing. So yeah, I just don't have a lot of I don't have some of the newer systems. I'd like to play Sunset Overdrive on the Xbox One, PT on the PS4. Like I said, a few things like that. I'm just not going to be able to play those games. And some of the games I'm just not interested in. Call of Duty. This one looked, out of all the Call of Duties in like the last several years, this one looked the most interesting, but I'm still really not interested. Assassin's Creed, it's a horrible, buggy mess from everything that I've heard, and I'm so far behind on that series anyway that, nah, not even gonna bother. So that's why this isn't gonna be, and I have a job. I do this just in my spare time, so I don't dedicate my full time to gaming and making sure I play everything. If you want, more comprehensive coverage, there are loads of sites and blogs and YouTube channels or whatever that will cover that for you. This is just kind of my take. So some some games of 2014 that I really found myself enjoying. first one, I kind of have a list over here to kind of help jog my memory. And I gotta say, early on, South Park: The Stick of Truth was... I really wanted to like the game, and I had decent hopes for it, but the way South Park games were in the past, I really didn't know what to expect. You know, developers, they say, oh, the creators of this franchise have been really involved, and, you know, it's going to be good. And, you know, Trey Parker, Matt Stone, they were involved in the creation, a lot more involved in the creation of this game. They were saying all the right things, but I'm like, ugh, it got delayed and got delayed and got delayed, and it's like, is this really gonna, are they really gonna follow through? And, I gotta say, yes, they did. If you like South Park, even if you don't really follow it these days, if you liked South Park at some point, I would definitely look into playing this game. And if you can't, if you can't see well enough to play the game, just check back earlier on my channel. Right away when the game, pretty close to right away when the game came out this year, I did a full, one of my few Let's Plays that I did this year, I did of South Park: The Stick of Truth. And I did that from beginning to end, so you can see the full crazy story, you know, from the crazy Nazi zombies to the underpants gnome thing, which was absolutely hilarious. Just, there's so many things in that game. I'm not going to spoil any more, but I said if you like South Park, check it out because it's pretty damn funny. Speaking of pretty damn funny games, another one that came out of absolutely nowhere for me, I didn't even really know about it until I just saw it on the front page of Steam, and I watched the trailer and I went, what the hell is going on in this game? I'm talking about Jazzpunk. Also did a low vision spotlight for that earlier this year. Jazzpunk is this crazy first-person, it's not a shooter, I don't even know, I guess you would call it like a first-person adventure, first-person puzzle. I mean, there are light puzzles to get through each of the levels, but it's just such a bizarre game. You know, and in addition to that, you know, you've got these crazy characters, weird voice acting, weird environments, you've got the just odd mini games. I love the Street Fighter 2 mini game they had in there. I've used the mini game Wedding Quake, their little Quake knockoff. I've used that in a video or two on its own. I think I used that for like it was either the iPhone or the WWDC event, one of the two. I used Wedding Quake, and that is such an excellent parody. And it got me really thinking, you know, we're looking at a holiday game right now, a holiday theme game. I would love to see, you know, just a stupid version of Wedding Cake taken further, where it's not just that one level. Have a whole bunch of different themes. Have like a wedding theme level, maybe a graduation theme level. You could do a Christmas, a Halloween, Thanksgiving. Have different weapons weapons and basically different graphics and sound effects for each. You could do all kinds of craziness, and you know, like I said, if I could code, I'd love to be able to make a game, but I suck at programming, so it's just not going to happen. But if I could, that would be something that would just be sort of amusing to do. But Jazzpunk is a just bizarre game that I just definitely recommend that you guys check out. I've covered it on the channel, and it's a pretty cheap game on Steam. It's an indie title, first person, but it's just really pretty funny. Another thing that we've seen quite a bit of this year, both just in general and on the channel, is early access games. Early access and Kickstarter games. You know, a lot of games over the past couple years, Kickstarter has become super popular, and I've funded some of those myself. I funded Shovel Knight, I funded Cat Lateral Damage, Road Redemption, Chasm, I think those are the main ones. There may be one or two other ones in there, but like I said, chip in a few bucks here just to support these small developers and stuff. And I gotta say, thankfully, pretty much everything that I have chosen to fund has turned out quite well. Shovel Knight, fantastic game. If you grew up in the 80s and 90s, if you grew up with the NES, you have not played Shovel Knight or even seen Shovel Knight, you owe it to yourself to go check out my video or go check out the game Shovel Knight, because it is really freaking good. It takes a lot of what you liked about those old games like Castlevania, Mega Man, Metroid, just all kinds of stuff. Takes what, there's a lot of 2D platformer, side-scroller things, especially on Steam and in the indie scene right now, but Shovel Knight just nails it. I mean, it feels like, with a few little exceptions, it feels like it could have been done on the NES. It feels like, but they've just, made a couple of modern updates to the game to make it play better, sound better, just in general. I just really, really like the game. It's hard, and I'm not very good at it, but I totally appreciate it for what it is, and it's just a really cool, really fun game. And like that first level music, I was listening to that just the other night a little bit, and it's really, really freaking good if you like classic NES style chiptune music. So definitely check out Shovel Knight. Road Redemption, that's another one that is a Kickstarter game, and it is still in early access form. I should say Shovel Knight is fully released. It's not in early access. It is totally available and has been available since summer. But Road Redemption, that is a spiritual successor to the Road Rash games. If you ever played those on the Genesis, or if you're one of the few people that actually owned a 3DO, basically you're riding motorcycles, you use weapons, pipes, chains, hammers, guns, whatever. Just beat the living crap out of each other. You given certain objectives, and maybe you got to win a race. Maybe you have to take out so many rival bikers. Just really cool tracks, good control. They've been updating it regularly, and I actually haven't checked in for the last couple of weeks, or past few weeks actually. But I get their Kickstarter updates in my email still, and sounds like they've been doing some pretty cool updates with like multiplayer. They're trying to get that going. Bike selection, so you can choose what bike you want. A little character by the name of Shovel Knight just might so happen to be a guest character in that game, so that's pretty cool. I'd like to check that out. But yeah, just a good, fun arcade racing game. Road Redemption is really, really good, and I hope they get the multiplayer sorted out here pretty soon, because that, I think, could be pretty dang fun to play online. I'd like to try that with Jawbreaker and maybe even random people, depending on how the player base is for that. So, Road Redemption, early access right now, but still really, really good, and I can't wait to see what the final version of that product is going to be. South Park. I did put Minecraft on here. Now, 2014, I really didn't play near as much Minecraft as I have in the past couple of years. I know this year I did start by playing it quite a bit, because I was able to finish my Crater City. I've built this tower city. If you've been following my channel for a while, you've seen me cover a few different iterations of that. And I gotta say, you go back and look at some of those really early videos where I was just starting to show you the project, and then you look at the final one, it's definitely changed a lot, and I'm really, really pleased with how some of this stuff turned out. I really wouldn't have even imagined how some of those final buildings would have come together. And just the more that I played it, the more that I built, kind of figured out some of my own building styles. Like I said, just really pleased with how that city came out. So there is a full playlist giving you guys a tour of the full Minecraft Crater City. I believe it's like Minecraft Crater City Final Tour or Final something or other. I don't remember the exact name of it, but just go look on my playlists on the channel and you'll see it there. I cover every building and pretty much, walk through it in details and explain kind of how I came up with some of the ideas and stuff like that. So like I said, I've had quite a few new subscribers, so if some of this stuff sounds kind of old to you, just keeping some of you new guys up to speed. But after that, I still really would like to play some Minecraft. I just have kind of hit a creative dead point. I really can't think. I've popped into Minecraft a few times, and I've tried to think of things that I could build, but I really just haven't come up with anything. I don't know. Creatively, I either just have to start messing around and just start building something, and then some crazy weird thing will morph out of it. But that's something I would like to do, and maybe have some kind of a cool project to start working on, because Minecraft is really great, especially for if you want to listen to some music, kick back, especially in creative mode. If you don't want to worry about combat or anything, you get home from a long day, you just want to relax, kick on some music or an audiobook, Minecraft is a perfect game for that. And so that's kind of why I want to get back into that again. Let's see, what else do I got on here? Oh yeah, Wolfenstein The New Order. I just recently finally got around to covering this on the channel. One of the several new remakes or iterations of the Wolfenstein games in the last decade or so. And I gotta say, this one is pretty dang good. Go back and watch the video of it. They definitely do some interesting stuff, like with the story, the environments, cool kind of weaponry. There's a really cool area you visit later in the game that I'm not necessarily going to spoil, but that came out of that was a complete kind of left turn. I really oh, okay, they're going to do that in a Wolfenstein game? Okay. The shooting felt pretty good. The story, well, it's not going to win any awards for story, but it was far better than it had any right to be. So, yeah, Wolfenstein was a very pleasant surprise. I'm glad they did a good job with that game. That one kind of stood out to me. Shadow of Mordor. That was another one that really jumped out of nowhere, because I hadn't been following that at all until maybe a week or two before it was actually released. And, I like Lord of the Rings in general. I've read the books quite a while ago, once or twice. I liked them. I like The Hobbit, and, I like the trilogy and all that. But the movie, the Peter Jackson movies, the first one I thought was pretty good. The second one was, eh. And then, boy, did they screw up the third one. Just how many endings do we have in that movie, and yet they still don't cover the one cool part of the book I've been waiting for to see on the big screen for the whole movie. Huge disappointment. So I've kind of soured on my whole Lord of the Rings thing. They've had several games in the past, action games, strategy games, whatever. So I just really didn't care. And then I heard some really positive buzz for Shadow of Mordor, being this side spin-off, kind of like, you're not just retelling the One Ring story. It's something totally different. And I looked into it and went, wow, this does look really interesting. And their whole spiel, their whole, I don't want to say gimmick, but their whole gameplay addition for that game was that you had this nemesis system where you had these kind of big orc bosses that you created rivalries with them. You would find them out in the environment, and if they killed you or knocked you, they would raise in power. They would move up the ranks in power. And then you had to kind of work your way back to them, or you could, if you hurt them really bad, then they would come back for revenge. And just that whole cool thing. I love that idea, and that's one instance where I would love to see other game developers. That would be a feature I want to see in other types of franchises, because they could do some really cool things. You know, I mean, could you imagine some kind of like a superhero power struggle sort of thing? You know, you've got like a Batman game, you got all these villains, and, you know, or a Spider-Man game, or whatever it is, you know, a superhero game, and you've got all these bad guys. You know, they say they're going to work together for a little while, but then they always backstab each other, that kind of thing. You know, you could do it in that. You could do it in all kinds of different settings. So I hope the Nemesis system is something that other developers take note of and kind of take a look at, because that, I gotta say, was pretty cool. Not to mention the combat, and just it's pretty violent, pretty bloody, but it's just a really fun game, and I haven't beat it yet. I really do need to get back to it again, but what I've played of it, you know, I've played it for quite a while, and it is definitely one, you know, even if you've kind of tired of the whole Lord of the Rings thing in recent years, give Shadow of Mordor a look. Check out my video, check the game out, yeah, Shadow of Mordor. I got a few more here that caught my attention. I talked about, so cat lateral damage. You know, I briefly mentioned like the indie games already, but what I thought was really interesting this year was, in addition to like the indie and early access and Kickstarter games, just like the weirdness, or like the styles of gameplay that I never would have expected that I would be able to play. You know, cat lateral damage, playing as a cat, where your goal is basically to wreck the crap out of the house. Interesting, cool idea, and it's actually pretty fun. In early access right now. Can't wait to see what the final build of that's going to play like. Goat Simulator. That started out as a joke, an April Fool's joke. Everyone loved it so much that they actually created the full game, and it's just as absurd as you would think it would be. And I actually have to get back into that game, because I think it was around the time I went home for Thanksgiving. They released an update that turned it into this weird, like, sheep versus goats, almost like a MMO light kind of thing. Like, they're making fun of World of Warcraft and all the MMOs and stuff. So I don't know what they've done, of like if they've made combat, or if they've like just what kind of weird stuff they've added to make it like this weird goat RPG. With every update, they just add more and more stuff, and it's just more and more absurd. So I may come back to that and cover that on the channel in the future at some point too. Like I said, I've covered the game Goat Simulator before, but if they've really added a lot to the that RPG thing or whatever, I might have to give that a second look on the channel. Speaking of weird, another one I just covered recently, I Am Bread, talking about, speaking of weird simulations. Would you have ever thought that, yes, the goal of this game is I'm going to become a sentient piece of bread, and my main goal is to become tasty, flavored with butter and jelly and whatever else, and then to become toasted. That is my goal, is to use an absurdly complicated, clunky, and a lot of times frustrating, yet entertaining control scheme to become a sentient piece of bread and become toast. But yes, it is just as weird as you would think it is, and I've just covered it on the channel fairly recently. So that again is another early access title. Curious to see what the final build of that's going to be like. I hope that they do add some more user-friendly modes. Like I said in my other video covering the game, I said I need varying levels of I suck mode. I need to, like, the grip meter, the edibility meter, and that will make sense to you if you watch the other video. But they need to have those where I can either turn them down or take them away, because that's the only way, with their absurdly complicated control scheme, that's the only way I'm ever going to finish a level and progress in that game. But I am Bread. It is freaking absurd and, yeah, crazy. Absurd. So you said goat, cat, bread simulators. Who would have thought? Master Reboot, that was kind of another interesting one that I would recommend. What I've kind of been liking, and I've talked about this on the channel a little bit before too, was that I'm liking more games, like I said, especially, you get home and you don't really want to just get into an intense firefight or whatever. You just want to relax and do something, but maybe play a game. Master Reboot, Gone Home, all these types of things. I like the increasing number of first person especially, but just games that are like exploration things, Maybe I have to solve a couple of puzzles, or maybe I have to, go through a few dialogue trees or something. But basically, I like just kind of exploring and not having to save the world. The whole Armageddon thing is just getting kind of old, You can only go through so many gray and brown corridors and save the world so many times before even that's just like, yeah, whatever. And Master Reboot is this kind of really interesting kind of puzzle game that I've covered on the channel already in a Low Vision Spotlight video. And it's, it's first person, but it's more like kind of some light puzzle solving. Nothing really too complicated, but it's just a really kind of unique experience that I rather liked. Battle Block Theater. That is a really fun one. Single player and co-op 2D platformer puzzle game. And what stands out about that one is just, again, it's just goofy. It's kind of got this British humor to it. They use the whole theater presentation style, so you've got like these popsicle stick cutouts for like the cut scenes, and just it's really funny. The narrator is great. You watch my video, I included the opening cutscene and one of the trailers in there. The humor in the game just keeps you going. There are definitely some frustrating points, especially when you play it, I think, in co-op. I have not shown the co-op mode on the channel, but basically what happens is that you can get far away from each other in the level, and that can be a problem because then it zooms out really far, and especially if you have low vision, such as I do, it can be really hard to keep track of where you are, especially when the other problem that I have with the game is that you have these checkpoints throughout the level, but because of the way, in single player they work fine, but when you're doing co-op, it seems to be like whatever checkpoint somebody might be close to is where you're going to spawn when you die. So you might think that, oh, hey, I just passed this checkpoint, I'm going to start here when I die. No. You could be completely on the other side of the world. Combine that with the zoomed out thing. It can be a little frustrating at times. But overall, I still think it's definitely worth looking at, worth playing. Especially, I would say, maybe in single player to start with, just so that when it's in single player, it's more zoomed in because the action is always focused on you. So that could be something to check out as well. Among the Sleep. This is my last kind of major game. Among the Sleep was another one that I covered on the channel. That was a Kickstarter backer project that I just thought sounded really cool. And the final build turned out really kind of interesting. And they actually released DLC for it not too long ago too, which was also good. Which was also really kind of unique. And Among the Sleep is basically like a first-person puzzle adventure game where you play a toddler. And it's really interesting because you're seeing the world from the toddler's perspective. Everything that, as an adult that we take for granted. We can just walk across the room, grab something on the table, go open a door, pick something up, whatever. as a toddler who can basically crawl and kind of walk a little bit, just getting from room to room can be interesting. Have to push doors over to somewhere to climb up on it to get something or to open a door or whatever. And then you've kind of got this kind of cool, just weird story that kind of mixes. At times you're not quite sure what's imagination, the kid's imagination, and what might be real. And it ends up telling kind of a really interesting story about being a little kid and their imagination, and without giving too much away, just without with your parents and problems that they might have. It's a really cool game, and that was definitely a very pleasant, I don't want to say surprise, because that's why I kickstarted it, because I thought it would be cool, but I'm glad that it turned out as well as it did. Again, I also did a video on that earlier this year. So, like I said, I'm omitting a lot of these other, AAA games, the Call of Duties, the Halos, the Assassin's Creed, the racing games, Forza, because I don't have the systems, and I'm just not able to play them. And part of the reason, too, is that I really haven't had the urge to do so, is because a couple of the trends that I'll get to in just a second. But as far as just general gaming and technology trends, like I said, I've already kind of mentioned a couple of them already, so I'll just kind of breeze through these real quick. The Kickstarter, the early access games, the variety of great indie games. You're not seeing the same old thing over and over. You're getting to see these weird simulation games, twists on what you would normally think would be in a first-person title, or all these, just all kinds of creativity and stuff. So, really like that. Really like the quality of successful Kickstarters that have actually come out with a real good game. Some of the early access games that look promising. I like that. But like I said, one of the main reasons that I really just haven't felt very compelled to get one of these new, Xbox One, PS4 systems is partly they don't have a whole lot of exclusive games for them. I know each one of them has some, and some come to PC, some don't. Sunset Overdrive being a good example of one that I really would like to actually play, but it's not enough to push me over the edge to buy a system just yet. But another large part of the reason, even some of the PC games, is 2014 has been a really crazy year as far as quality of games and just developers releasing stuff that's just broken, or just really shoddily put together. One of the things that I worried about initially, even on the Xbox 360, when you had broadband internet built into the system and a hard drive, they were talking about having you could patch your game, or you could release downloadable content. Okay, that's great. We can fix some things, but you're really, really seeing that, especially in the last couple of years now, where developers, and I can't even really blame the developers as much, because I have a secret suspicion that a large part of that could be the publishers saying, we got to meet our Q4 release dates, and we got to make some money, so even if the game is in a shitty state, let's release it right now because we have to get our quarterly results. And the developer's just like, well, I guess we'll duct tape as much as we can together and then try to patch it later. But 2014 especially has seen so many AAA games especially that are just broken or not very playable in their full retail state. These are not early access games. These are not, betas. These are like full on-the-shelf retail games. A lot of the ones I mentioned, you have Drive Club, Assassin's Creed Unity, the Halo Master Chief Collection. Boy, did they screw that one up. And what really disturbs me is, if I'm playing, games on Steam, I'm downloading them all anyway. So when I download it again, I'm going to download the latest version because it's patched. That's one thing. You know, maybe similar on a console. But if I choose to buy a game on a disc and I want to play it, well, A, I get system updates every other 2 minutes. You know, I still use the PS3, and every time I start that thing, it's like, oh, well, in order to watch this movie, or you turn the system on, you must wait 20 minutes to download frickin' updates every time. In addition to that, you know, then you have these day one patches and subsequent patches after that. You know, the Halo Master Chief Collection, from what I've heard, I've read a few different places, they had a, like, 15 gig, not 15 meg, 15 gigabyte download patch. That was a day one or very close to patch? If you have a 15 gig patch, do pray tell me what the hell you put on the game disc, because I'm sorry, at that point, that's not even a patch anymore. I mean, a patch is something like, oh, here's a little problem, we fixed it. This is like, yeah, half our game is broken, so we basically just have to reissue the whole frickin' thing out to you again. And it's one thing because that sucks now. But think about it, even when people are complaining about it on podcasts and on Twitter and things like that, what people really haven't been talking about very much is that, let's say 10 years from now, I buy one of these systems now and I decide, you know what, I want to play some of these games 10 years from now because I remember liking them. They were pretty cool. Well, if I bought these things on a disc, and maybe Xbox Live or PSN, they're still around, but, you know, things get taken down off of their services all the time. So what if I put my disc in, and I have a new system, or I got a different hard drive, or, you know, my hard drive croaked and I had to put everything back on there. I start with the game that is just on the disc. And because developers are releasing this crap more and more consistently just broken or really messed up, you know, if I come in and I want to play that disc right off, I want to play that game right off of the disc, I'm not going to be able to. I think in a lot of cases, unless there's some pirated version out there, or you better hope and pray that these games that are out now, you better hope and pray that they're still very easily available on Microsoft's or Sony's services, or even, Steam or whatever. But, that's what worries me. It's like a cartridge. Yeah, there were some problems. Of course, they had bugs in them. All games pretty much do. But by the time they hit the cartridge state, unless they were just a complete and utter pile of garbage, you could at least, they may be a really crappy game, but at least, for the most part, if it's on a cartridge, you could kind of make the assumption that the game might be terrible, but at least it's going to, for the most part, work. It's going to at least be in a playable state. And the core functionality of whatever modes the developers choose to put in the game, single player, multiplayer, whatever, are going to generally work. So that is the main trend. And I really think it started, like I said, last year you saw some games. I think there was an NBA game. There was a couple other sports games. I know Battlefield 4 was broken forever. But like I said, now you've got all these, especially the AAA games, these high-budget, traditional big-box games that are out there, and they're just kind of broken. So that has got to stop. I really hope that some of these publishers, sit back, and I hope some of the gamers, I hope they quit buying this crap. Don't buy these games if they're going to be broken. Be like, oh, well, yeah, they'll patch it, whatever. I'll just wait and then buy it anyway. A lot of especially for these big AAA games these days, I almost want to wait an extra year and buy the Game of the Year edition, because at least the disc version of then it'll be patched. I can play the damn game. So yeah, there's my end of the year rant part of the video. Do want to talk about mobile games really quick, because they definitely deserve a mention. I have played quite a bit of mobile games off and on throughout the year, and I've had a few diversions, most of which, I've played for a little while, and but I would say there's like 3 or 4 that are just really, really pretty catchy, pretty addictive. You've got Crossy Road, which I just did, I showed you guys on the channel not too long ago. All of these are on the iPhone. Some of them may be on Android as well. But Crossy Road, kind of the endless Frogger game. Desert Golfing, also really simple but addictive little golfing game. Again, I showed you that on the channel. Audio Defense, that was that's an fully accessible to blind and visually impaired gamers. That one was really fun, and I'm still enjoying that one. I have not completed the actual campaign yet because I've kind of been bouncing back and forth between the campaign and the endless mode to get gems and stuff and earn enough money to get some of the required upgrades that, periodically that you have to do. But I would say, and I have gone back to, I still play Real Racing 3 on occasion. I really don't play it near as much as I used to because even when I covered the game on the channel, what really annoys me about that one is that it's a fun game. It's, it works well, it plays well, it looks good. But especially the further you get in the game, their money requirements to buy and upgrade vehicles just gets ludicrous. It's like millions of dollars or certain number of gold coins that are just obscene. And unless you fork over and keep forking over a bunch of money, you're stuck. You can't upgrade, or you have to replay things like 700 times to get anywhere. So I've kind of soured on that quite a bit. But the one game that I have to give props to for 2014 is Threes, Threes, and I've also covered this on the channel. Threes is a very simple in concept, but hard to master and really frickin' addictive puzzle game. Basically, you've got these numbered tiles, you've got a 4x4 grid of these tiles, and you are you've got a few different numbers, and the more you swipe in from a direction, and you are trying to, 1 and 2s make 3s, and then you take 2 3s and they make 6s, and 2 6s make 12s, and you're basically trying to move tiles around to get the highest score possible by combining and getting the highest tiles possible. So I think the highest I've gotten was a 768 or 7 whatever it is, 700 something. I did get that. I think my top score is something like 22 or 23,000 points. So I'm pretty proud of that. But then I go on YouTube and I look up and I see other people have gotten just ridiculously higher, and then I feel sad because I still suck. But hey, you know what? Threes is just this. It's a game that you can play for a couple of minutes when you have you're waiting for a meeting, or you've got a couple of seconds to kill. And it's also a good game just to play when you're reading a book and you just want something to do, or you just want to kick back, or you're watching something on TV and playing through the commercials or whatever. You can play it for a couple of minutes or a couple of hours, and I've done both. It's just a really addictive little puzzle game. I really enjoyed Threes quite a bit, and I still play it. Matter of fact, I played a round of it during lunch break today. So Threes is definitely, I would say, my mobile game of the year by far. Getting toward the end of it here. Sorry for such a long video, guys, but like I said, I figured I'd just do all this in one shot instead of doing several of these little videos. I do have to mention the Wii U, even though I haven't been able to cover it on the channel. But if you like, the classic Nintendo games, you like the classic Nintendo series, there's been a lot of criticism, there's been a lot of skepticism about the Wii U. It's not the Wii, it's, there's not enough coming out for it. And yeah, there's not a ton, there's not hundreds and hundreds of games for the thing. But if you just want some good, fun games, and you like video games, you want to play some video games, man, the Nintendo Wii is actually really worth owning right now. I saw the Nintendo E3 press conference earlier this year, and there's a few titles out before then, but some of the stuff that they announced and was just coming out around that time, it pushed me over the edge. And usually, like I said, I think in an earlier video, Mario Kart is often the game that pushes me over the edge for a Nintendo console. It's been that way for the DS or the 3DS and a couple other systems too. So, but you have Mario 3D World, you have New Super Mario Brothers U, New Super Luigi U, like I said, Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers, Bayonetta 2, which also comes with Bayonetta 1. And for those who don't know about Bayonetta, if you like character action games, really fast-paced, really crazy, and I do mean crazy, just absurd, go look up some footage of Bayonetta 2 on YouTube. The game starts out cranked up to 11, and then just gets absolutely more nuts as the game goes on. So, I don't really know what else to say. It's a third-person action game. It is completely absurd, completely crazy, and it's a Wii U exclusive, so at least for now, especially because Nintendo funded it, or helped fund it, I think it's going to remain a Nintendo exclusive, and there's it's a really solid game. And then next year you're going to have things like, the Yoshi's Woolly World. You've got Mario Maker, which they released some footage of during the Game Awards earlier this month. And it looks like they've confirmed not only can you create regular Mario levels, but you can create Mario 3, Mario World levels. So, hell yes. Please, Nintendo, include a easy-to-use ranking and share feature, because if you do that, you are going to make a lot of Nintendo fans very, very happy, me included. That's kind of the Mario game that really we've been waiting for, especially, you hear about Little Big Planet and all that kind of stuff that Sony did, and you're like, why hasn't Nintendo done this yet? So please, Nintendo, make it happen. And of course, you have the upcoming Legend of Zelda game, which, from what little we know about it, and they're saying all the right things again, so one can just hope that they're going to deliver. Everyone's kind of saying more of like a really open world, kind of almost like a Elder Scrolls-esque open world. I don't know how they're going to handle the world, but they already showed you can ride a horse. You got your Epona horse there. You've got your open world, and looking pretty good. Like I said, from what little I've seen of it, but when everything that Nintendo said so far, I'm liking what I'm hearing. So please, Nintendo, make it be awesome. Because honestly, I haven't cared as much for the last couple of Zelda games. I really didn't play much of Skyward Sword, and Twilight Princess was pretty cool, but it just, Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, Link to the Past, just 3 really, really outstanding Zelda games, and I wanna have that feeling again. I wanna play something that awesome again. So hopefully this is it. So like I said, if you like Nintendo, or if you like just some really fun games, give Nintendo a look. You also had Hyrule Warriors, which is kind of the Zelda Dynasty Warriors crossover kind of thing, which is, it's different. It's definitely not a real Zelda game, but it's a fun diversion. I've played it a little bit, and it's fun. So you got that to look forward to as well, and some good third-party stuff as well. So there you go. Covered that already. I think mainly to wrap up here, I want to cover a few different assistive technology things, because this year has been sort of a really interesting year in technology and assistive technology too. The iPhone and the iPhone 6 came out, And I thought that was really good. I really love, finally I've wanted an iPhone that is more comparable to some of the larger Android screens that they've had for the past few years. We finally got a great, a nice big 5.5 inch screen. I will say, having reviewed the 6 Plus, and even have been I've used it and obviously a lot longer since. The battery life is much improved over the 5. I can last easily pretty much a full day every day, and usually, unless I'm watching a lot of video or playing some games, I can last all day and not really have to worry. The battery life is way better. Just a really good device. Great camera. Check my full review for that. Did a video on the Windows 8 tablet. Got one of those earlier this year, so that's becoming a lot more viable. Narrator works surprisingly well on Windows 8.1 with the touchscreen. I actually think that Windows 8, or that Narrator works better on a Windows 8 touchscreen than it does with the keyboard, because there's just some keyboard commands like reading a dialog box or things like that aren't there yet, whereas if you're just using a touchscreen, you can point to those things and you can touch them. So it actually works pretty well. Quite curious to see what Windows 10 brings next year. New Victor Reader Stream. I know this was probably out in 2013, but I picked up mine this year. And it is an affordable piece of assistive technology. It's not several $1,000s like some other stuff is, or even $1,000. I use mine on a very regular basis because I listen to a lot of Audible books, and I like to be able to speed them up. Podcasts, I want to speed them up a lot. And again, having physical buttons for practicing music, both guitar and drums, really does help. So I use my iPhone a lot for music and things like that, but there are still some things where I do find a player with buttons like the Victor Reader Stream rather handy. For obviously the KNFB Reader app, I reviewed that on the channel, and that's been super popular on my channel. I think that's one of my highest rated and highest viewed videos since the channel, and I think that's really where I started getting some of my more recent subscribers. So if you have watched some of those videos, thanks for subscribing. But yeah, the KNFB Reader we knew it was coming, but like me, especially with like everyone else, with the $100 price tag, $99 price tag, we well, it has to be good for that much money. I mean, do we really want to spend that much? It better be good. And I decided to give them the benefit of the doubt. I bought it, and it is worth, if you're going to do a lot of, if you're going to use it for a lot of, scanning documents and just want to be portable, it is worth the $100. It does surprisingly well. It does a very, very good job of being able to capture not just paper on a desk, but, I've used it for paper, I've used it for books, computer screens, all kinds of stuff. You can also convert PDF files or image files that you get from another app, or that you get emailed to you. That works really well, and especially if you have a newer phone with the 6 or the 6 Plus. I mean, it's really, really fast, and like I said, the camera quality makes it even work a little better. But even on the iPhone 5, it still worked admirably well. So KNFB Reader, a very, very good, I would say that would be my assistive technology product of the year this year. Very nice job, especially for a 1.0 release. Very, very nice job. You have your Windows going free, and Windows for Office. That was a really surprising announcement earlier this year. Haven't played with Windows really as much as I should have, but I've, now that it is free, I have played with it a little bit more, and I do hope to devote some more time to it here in the near future, especially if I kind of learn more some of the other commands. I will maybe like to try to do a video of it maybe on the channel at some point here. And then you have NVDA has really stepped up its game, especially as far as Microsoft Office and productivity stuff goes. NVDA was it 2014 version 3, release 3, I think did a really good job of adding a lot more Microsoft Office support. And I can say at least right now, if you're wanting to do shared calendars, and if you're wanting to do the scheduling assistant out of JAWS, out of NVDA, out of System Access, out of I haven't really tried Windows yet, but without any funny add-ins, or without any kind of like where Windows has its own Outlook interface thing that it likes to download or likes to use, just using the standard Outlook interface, it actually works pretty darn well. You can actually schedule meetings and stuff now, and I've used that a fair number of times at work. So good on these NVDA guys. They're doing really well. The whole craziness with Seratech and System Access around Thanksgiving, I really hope for the best for those guys, because we lost a lot of really good people, who did this technical support and the Serotalk podcast and all that kind of stuff. Ricky and Ranger and Buddy, and I know I'm forgetting one of you two others. I apologize, but like I said, we lost a lot of staff, and I hope that Serotalk is able to continue to survive and innovate. And like I said, they were on a roll for a few years there. They had their SA to go, their RIM and RAM, they're killing their SMAs thing, iBlink Radio, and I like I said, I really like their podcasts and stuff like that, but I do hope to see, especially with a little bit of the downsizing now, I hope that they really return to development a little bit more, because Matt Campbell is a brilliant coder, and I really want to see what kind of really cool stuff he comes up with next, whether it be for, you're the computer with System Access, or the network, or through a mobile app, or whatever it is. But, please don't kill System Access, because I really like that screen reader. It just works really well on the internet, and I just like the way it does a lot of things. So I hope that they continue, and that they are able to continue on successfully as well. I already mentioned the iPhone, like the CCTV apps and things like that. With the better camera, just some of the magnifier apps look amazing now. They just look so much better. The contrast is good. The refresh rate is better. That Vision Assist app that I demoed again on the channel fairly recently, going from the iPhone 5 to the iPhone 6 Plus, it just looks amazing. It looks so much better. The performance is way better. Your smartphone is now pretty much a really viable alternative to a portable CCTV. I use mine, I would say, on a daily basis. So that's exciting. A lot of this, a lot of what's exciting me is being able to take a mainstream product and use it as assistive technology, or use it with built-in assistive technology, or free or very low-cost assistive technology. That's what I'm really glad to be seeing. Of course, another thing that I liked is the constant support of especially a lot of these mobile apps like Voice Dream Reader and Blind Square, and just, like I said, Voice Dream Reader I use all the time. It's probably my most used, aside from my magnifiers, it's probably my most used app, third-party app on my iPhone, and I love it. Great job, Winston. And without giving too much away, I've kind of been I know that Winston's going to be coming out with some pretty cool stuff here in the near future. I've heard a few tidbits here and there, and I've been trying to help him out on a couple things with that as well. So look forward to some pretty cool stuff in early 2015. And with that kind of wraps up 2014. 2015, next year, I don't really know what to expect. I know this video, like I said, is running long, but I felt I wanted to do justice to, games and technology and assistive technology, whatever. As far as next year goes, I really don't know what to expect. Will I finally be able to get one of those like Elgato devices or something to let me capture consoles? I don't know. Will I get a Xbox One or a PS4? I don't know. Will I probably upgrade my PC? Yeah, probably. I would say the most likely thing is I'll be able to update my PC, and then I will be able to play a lot of what's available on these new consoles. I will be able to play on the PC. So look forward to that. I will definitely be trying to keep covering more accessible games and accessible apps and things. A lot of what I do is from a low vision perspective, but I don't completely want to leave out the totally blind users of the channel. So I will try to be covering more of that. Assistive technology wise, I really don't have a clue. I really want to see NVDA develop more. I'm curious, they released some news about a potential remote control feature, kind of like how Ceratec does with their system access software. Be able to remote control another one of your own computers or a friend's computer to do training or tech support. Looking forward to seeing what that's going to do. I really want to see what Ceratec does, see what GW Micro does. I really want to see what's going to happen with Windows 8 or Windows 10 in general. I really want to see what Microsoft is going to do with Narrator. Are they going to, add a lot more functionality, especially keyboard functionality and not just touchscreen, into Narrator? Because can it be used as a, at least a basic, more viable screen reader such as VoiceOver would be on the Mac? As for iOS or mobile Android apps, I don't really know what to expect for next year. A couple of years ago or even last year, it's like, well, I could still think of 2 or 3 things that I would really like to see. A really good OCR thing, a way to speed up audio. VoiceStream Reader does support audio, and while it's not quite as fast as the Victor Reader Stream at this point, it does speed it up pretty far, and I have used it to listen to some audio. So aside from things like the Audible book service and a couple of other odds and ends, that's there. The KNFB Reader provides excellent OCR. So, they're doing a really good job there. I'm curious to see what other touch-ups or what other features they add to make that app even better. Maybe integrate it with a lot more cloud services or something like that. But, aside from maybe some more accessible games, the iPhone and hopefully Android soon to follow, these smartphones have just become, they've taken what you used to take your computer and 5 other portable devices, what you used to have to do all that, you can carry around your phone with you, and you've got everything. You've got a magnifier, an OCR thing, a book reader, web browser, email, phone, just, color identifier, money identifier, all of this stuff. So, I don't know. The best part about this is, like I said, not knowing, or not really, I can't think of anything that I really want. So if something really cool does happen to come out, that's all the better, because I won't be expecting it. So, and as far as gaming goes, I really hope that the main thing that I want to see is I want to see developers and especially publishers, because they should know better, and I hope they kind of get creamed this year a bit, but stop the buggy games. Stop the unfinished garbage that you are releasing into the world right now as fully boxed released product, because it is garbage. There's no excuse for, I mean, I understand there's going to be a few bugs, and I understand a few little online patches to fix something, but if it's an online racing game and you just flat out can't race, or you're making several old games, all of your Halo games, and you can't play any of them online, and some of them, the single player is busted. I mean, these are games that have been already released in working fashion on an older console, and they are broken. Hell, I saw a video last week. They released a version of Tetris on the PS4. Tetris, for God's sake. One of the earliest and most addictive games ever, but the PS4 Tetris was just broken and pretty much unplayable. The old, green and black, or black and white, or whatever, however you want to call it, the old original Game Boy could play Tetris beautifully. How do you screw up? How do you fuck up Tetris so bad on a PlayStation 4 that could, play... Yeah, I don't know. How do you screw that up? So that's my main... As far as gaming goes, I want to see some good games. I want to see some original stuff. Some more, some less Armageddon. I want to see some just more down-to-earth stuff. Just really interesting game concepts continue. But really, what I really want for next year is stop with the broken and buggy garbage. Stop with that mess. Please make it stop, because that's getting really old really fast. So, I think we're going to wrap up the video here. We've got a lot to do as far as cleaning goes. I'm not really doing a thorough job, but just basically something for you guys to watch while I'm babbling here. But, yeah, that has been 2014 in general. Technology, gaming, assistive technology, and otherwise. For myself, I think it's been a pretty good year. Some pretty nice assistive technology things happening. Some pretty good things on the indie game front. Maybe some not so good things on the traditional game front. But, overall, pretty good. And I hope that next year just will be even better. So, hope you guys have enjoyed this. And if you made it this far into the video, congratulations. I apologize for such a long, beastly video. But, like I said, I figured I'd just do it in one shot and get it done with. And, hope you guys enjoyed it. Please follow me on Twitter if you want to get more updates and just some other random stuff throughout the week. You can follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. That's BGFH79. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, tell other people if you know of any blind or visually impaired or other gamers or technology enthusiasts or what have you. If you know of anyone else who might want to subscribe, have them subscribe, let them know, whatever. And hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, I will see you guys next year.